Hey, what's cooking, everybody? Welcome back, of course, to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Nun Daled of Masechta Berachos. What is particularly exciting about today's Daf is that it's the first Daf of the final parak of Berachos, final stretch to the first Masechta that we are studying together here. This parak is called Haroeh. We're going to jump right in. There's some interesting stuff today, right? It talks about Berachos HaGomel, which is interesting stuff. All sorts of brachos about making brachos for miracles. And along the way, we'll find some interesting little nuggets that I'll leave it as a surprise, okay? So let's jump in. Without further ado, Daf Nun Daled all the way at the top. Haroeh Malkum Shenaisu Bo Nisim L'Yisrael. So somebody who sees a place where miracles happen for the Yidden. Omer Baruch Shasa Nisim L'Avoseinu B'Makom Hazeh. So he says, blessed is the God who made miracles in this place. If he sees a place where Avodah Zarah was uprooted from Darton, so then he says, blessed is God that uprooted Avodah Zarah from our land. Rashi says that we're going to explain all these things, but some stuff that we do recognize are I think Re'emim is thunder and Brakim is lightning. But in any event, the Mishnah says, Omer Baruch Shekochu K'vos Maleolam, blessed is God whose strength and might fills the world. Now on lightning, I think we generally say Osema Aseh Bereshit, but we'll have to see. On the mountains and on the hills, on the seas and on the rivers and on the deserts, Omer Baruch Oseh Maaseh Bereshis. Blessed is he who makes the makings of Berachos. Somebody sees the Great Sea. And I assume that the Great Sea is the Mediterranean, which it just so happens to be that I'm looking at right now. Should I make the bracha? I don't know. But in any event, I imagine that the Great Sea is the Mediterranean because Rabbi Yehuda lived in Eretz Yisrael. I don't imagine that he ventured too far away from there. And the Mediterranean Sea is pretty big. And I imagine that back in those days, if you saw the Mediterranean seas, you probably assume that it doesn't get bigger than this. So then, Omer Baruch Shasa Sayam Agadol, blessed is God who created the great sea. Bisman Shira'eu Lefrakim. Now that is as long as he doesn't see it too often. If he sees it from time to time, make that blessing from time to time. I don't know what's considered from time to time, but if you know, well, first of all, let us know, and also then you'll be able to make that blessing from time to time. Al Gushavim Val B'saros Tovos, Omer Baruch Hatov V'Ametiv. So on rain and on good tidings, you say, blessed is God who is good and does good. Al Shmuos Raos, on bad hearings, Omer Baruch Tainu Emes, you say, blessed is God, the judge of truth. If a person builds a new house or he buys new clothing, so he says the bracha of, that God has brought us, has given us life to achieve this moment, to reach this moment. Make a blessing on the bad from the good and on the good from the bad, and Rashi says that we're going to explain exactly what that means, because I don't really know what that means right now. Somebody cries out to God for something that has already passed. It is a sort of empty prayer. Ketzad, what is crying out for something that has already passed? If his wife is pregnant and he says, and he's praying to God, with all of his heart that it should be a boy, well, too late. It's already either a boy or a girl, right? So your prayers aren't just going to swap the gender. So therefore, that would be considered a tefillas shav. I think room service is trying to get into my room. Excuse me, 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. Let's continue. If somebody was traveling and he heard shouts coming from the city, right? So if he hears shouts coming from the city and he says, wow, I sure hope that this shout, that, praise to God that these shouts shouldn't be coming from his house, well, that would also be an empty prayer, because if they are already coming from his house, well then it's too late. So this is really interesting. So it says that somebody who's going into a city, he prays twice. Right? Achas b'chnisaso v'achas b'yitziaso. Prays once on his way in and once on his way out. Ben Azai Omer Arba. Ben Azai says that he prays 4 times. Shtayim b'chnisaso v'shtayim b'yitziaso nosin odal sha'avim v'tzoyek ala asid. Right? So he prays twice. So he prays 4 times, right? Twice when he goes in, twice when he goes out. I understand it to mean that basically before he goes in, he prays that he should be able to go in safely, and when he gets in safely, he gives thanks to God, and before he leaves, he prays to God that he should be able to leave safely, and when he has left safely, successfully, he thanks God. Now, the Mishnah talks about this in the context of going into a city. I assume that was probably more common nowadays. I think that nowadays the equivalent of this would basically be passport control, right? When you go into a country, right? I'm sure probably everyone has been there. You're going into a country and you're by passport control in some foreign country, and you're kind of like, awkwardly standing there for a minute that feels like 5 minutes, and, they're looking in their computers and you're wondering what they're thinking. Are they going to stop you? Are they going to send you aside for interrogations and stuff? Think about that, unfortunately, that Israeli girl who got stuck in Moscow and put in jail for several months, right? I think that would be the, equivalent, of this right now. When you're by like a border and you're basically up to the mercy of these people. So you pray to God that you should be able to get into the country safe and out of the country safe, and give thanks when you get in and out safely. A person needs to bless for the bad just like he blesses for the good. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, right? The pasuk says that you have to love God with all of your heart. That with all of your heart, with both of your yetzers, with your yetzer tov and your yetzer hara. Again, we had the concept of the yetzer tov and the yetzer hara earlier in the Masechta. The Gemara just we seem to be assuming that we just know what the yetzer tov and the yetzer hara are. Like, we haven't actually defined what they are, but in any event, you got to serve God with both, right? It says levavcha. It doesn't say b'chol libcha, it says levavcha, but with both of your hearts, right? With your yetzer tov and your yetzer hara. V'chol nafshecha, afilu hu noteles nafshecha, with all of your soul, even if it means that God will take away, even if serving God means that you're going to have to die, pretty intense. V'chol modecha, b'chol mamoncha. B'chol modecha means you have to spend all of your money on God if you need to. Davar acher b'chol modecha, b'chol mida umida, shu moded lecha ve'moded lo. Right? In every measure that God gives you, you have to thank Him. And that is how we learn out that you have to bless God for the good and for the bad, because whatever measure He gives you, you have to thank Him. Right? The way that the gates to the Beis HaMikdash would work was that on the eastern side of the Beis HaMikdash, right? Basically, if you think about the kotel is the western wall, and that is the closest part to the Kodesh HaKodashim. So you would actually enter in from the east, and then you would kind of walk, and all of the gates to the temple were lined up in a straight line, so that theoretically, if they were all open, you would be able to see straight through from the outermost gate of the east side, straight through into the Kodesh HaKodashim. So for that reason, do not be lightheaded when you are opposite the gate on the eastern side of the Beis HaMikdash, because it is directly opposite the Kodesh HaKodashim. That's super cool. Don't go into the Beis HaMikdash with your staff, like your walking staff, with your shoes on. You got to take off your shoes before you go in, which is cool. Not with your money belt. All right, that was also cool. I guess they would have a belt. I feel like random people have it nowadays, but like a belt that was like hollow, and you would be able to put money in there, or at least in part of it. And not with the dirt on your feet. I guess you would wash your feet first. Super cool. Vilo, it was like a real temple, I guess. Vilo yaisenu kapandria rikika mikavachomer. And don't use the Beis HaMikdash as a shortcut, or you shouldn't spit in the Beis HaMikdash. We learn that from Makavachomer, I guess, in the Gemara. Kochos me Berachos Mikdash ayu omim ada mina olam. Which is pretty cool. So Rashi gives an example. Instead of saying Baruch Ata Hashem Chonin Adas, you would say Baruch Ata Hashem Lokei Yisrael Mina Olam Baruch Chonin Adas, right? Mishikilkul Aminin. But once these early Christians started making things complicated, Va'amru Ein Olam Ela Echad, and said that Mina Olam implies that there's only one world. There is no Olam Haba. There is no Tchias HaMesim. So Iskinu Sheyihu Omim Mina Olam V'Ada Olam. So then they established that not just Mina Olam, but Mina Olam V'Ada Olam. Right, so therefore they would say something like Baruch Ata Hashem Elokei Yisrael Min Ha'olam V'Ad Ha'olam Baruch Chonen Adas. They would say that for every single bracha. Okay. V'eskinu she'adam shoel es shlom chaveu b'shem. And they made a takana that a person, when he says hi to your friend, don't you say, hey, what's up, dude? You should say Hashem imachem. Isn't that cool? Shneimar, as the pasuk says, V'nei Boaz bami beis lechem v'yomer lakotzim Hashem imachem v'yomer lo yivrechach Hashem. It's a pasuk from Rus that Boaz came to the field and he saw the people working in his field, and the way he greeted them was by saying Hashem imachem, and they responded Yivarechecha Hashem. So you should say God's name when you say hello to somebody. Vayomer Hashem imcha gibor achayil, and he quotes another pasuk. Ve'omer Hashem imcha gibor achayil. This he quotes another pasuk, which is when the malach, the angel, visited Gidon, the shofet, the first time. So the malach said to him, Hashem imcha gibor achayil, God is with you, the mighty soldier, or the strong, mighty person. Ve'omer al tavuz ki zokna imecha. Al tavuz or tavuz? I think it's tavuz. Do not take lightly your mother, even though she has gotten old. And Rashi says something interesting, which we learned out from there. So limod midivrei ziknei umascha, learn out from the elders of your nation. Lasos masher isa shem osim, that which you see that they are doing. Use them as role models. Read their biographies, their autobiographies. Not sure about their hagiographies, but that's for you to decide. That there's a time to do for God, because they are nullifying your Torah. Rabbi Yochanan to Amar Kra Vayomer Yisro Baruch. No, what? I skipped. But Rabbi Nassan Omer says, Rabbi Nassan Eferu Torascha Mishum Eis Lashos Hashem, because that you're allowed to basically nullify in some sense the Torah in order to do the will of God. So here also, you're saying God's name on just a regular mortal man, right? You're saying, right, Hashem imachem, and you're saying God's name just to reach out to a fellow human, but it's also okay because it's to do the will of God, because the pasuk says, Bakei shalom v'radfeu. You should chase after, peace, and therefore you could use God's name even for saying hello to your fellow. Menani mile. So the Gemara says, how do we know that you make a miracle that you make a bracha on miracles? So Rabbi Yochanan Amar Kra Vayomer Yisro Baruch Hashem Asher Hitzil V'Gomer, because it says by Yisro that when he met the Bnei Yisrael after they left Egypt, it says, blessed is God who saved the Yidden from Egypt. Anisa dirabim varchinon, anisa diachalom varchinon. Wait, so we only make a bracha on a miracle that happens like the entire Israel, but we wouldn't make a bracha on a nace that happens to an individual person. There was a certain person who was walking in a place called Ever Yamina. Nafal Ali Aryeh, and a lion, basically a lion found him, which is a pretty precarious situation because the lion can eat him. Nisa v'istsel v'tatzal mimenu, and a miracle happened, and the individual was saved from this lion. Also, l'kami de Rava, this person came to Rava. And Rava instructed him that every time he goes to that place, Ever Yamina, he should make a bracha, bless God who has done for me a miracle in this place. Marbe de Ravina have a ka'azil befakta de aravos. So Marbe Ravina was walking in the the valley, right? Yeah, in the valley of Aravos. V'tzacha lemaya, and he was really, really thirsty, like super, like dehydrating. Isav lenisa ibre le ena demaya, and a miracle happened, and a stream of water was created for him. V'ishti, and he was able to drink and not be dehydrated. V'su, and another time, zimnachada, avakazo barastika de Machoza. One time he was walking in the shuk of Machoza. V'nafal ale gamla pritza, and a crazy camel started interacting with him in a precarious way. Isparkale eshisa al legava zeo. So the wall of an adjacent house kind of crumbled, and he was able to jump inside of the house and get saved from this camel. Kimatula Aravos, and then every time he would visit Aravos, Brich, he would make the following. Right, Aravos is where the stream showed up. Was miraculously created. So Brich Baruch Shasalines Ba'aravos Uvagamos. So every time we go to Aravos, he would say, blessed is God who did for me a miracle in Aravos, and also, by the way, that other time with the camel in Machoza. Kimata Lirastika de Machoza, and every single time he was in the market of Machoza, Brich Baruch Shasalines Ba'gamol Uva'aravos. Right, he would make the blessing of, blessed is God who did for me a miracle with that camel, and also that other time in Aravos with the stream of water. So I guess, every time he got to a place where there was a miracle, he would make a bracha for that miracle, and also every other miracle he would include in that bracha every other miracle that also happened to him. Fine. So on the one hand we were saying, like, wait, so do we only make a blessing for miracles that happen to everybody? It would seem from here that we even make a blessing on miracles that happen to just regular people as well, individual people. So Amri Anisa Derabim Kuli Alma Machayv Levruche, Anisa Diyachid Iu Chayv Levruche. So we answer that if it's a miracle that happened to like lots of people, to the entire congregation, so then everybody needs to make a bracha. But if it's a miracle that happened to just an individual person, so then just that individual would make the bracha, but not everybody. Fine. Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbi started, Ra Ma'abaros Hayam Ma'abaros Hayarden. If a person sees where the Yidden passed through in the Yam Suf, when the Egyptians were after they were saved from the Egyptians, or when they were fleeing the Egyptians, Ma'abaros Hayarden, and where the Yidden passed through the Jordan River when they were going to Eretz Yisrael with Yoshua, Ma'abaros Nachli Arnon, or we're going to explain what this is, but basically the canyon in Nachal Arnon, where the Yidden passed through the canyon in Nachal Arnon, Avnei El Gabish. If a person sees the Avnei El Gabish, we're going to explain what those are. Bimorad Beis Choron, which are in the, on the, basically the slope of the mountain by Beit Choron. The Evan Shebikesh Lizrok Og Melech HaBashan Al Yisrael, or if somebody sees the stone that Og, the king of the Bashan, wanted to throw upon the Yidden. The Evan Sheyashav Alea Moshe B'Shashasu Yoshua Melchama B'Amalek, or if somebody sees the stone that Moshe sat upon at the time that Yoshua waged war against Amalek at the end of Parshas B'Shalach. V'ishto Shalot, or if somebody sees the wife of Lot, who has been stuck in a pillar of salt for the last long time. Well, I think that Avram Avinu was like 1948, and now we're in like 80 or something. So it was 5780 minus 1948 years ago around. V'chomas Yericho Shenivla B'mkoma, or if somebody sees the walls of Jericho that were just swallowed into the ground in their place. So al kulan tzarich shitin odah v'shevach lifnei amakom. So for all of those, he has to give thanks and praise before the Eibishter. Okay. So bishlam ma'abaros hayam. So I understand why you have to give praise and thanks to the Eibishter if you pass the place where the Yidden, walked through the Yam Suf when they were being chased by the Egyptians. That the Yidden went into the sea in dry land. Like, that's a pretty big miracle, right? I guess I understand why you'd make a bracha on that. Ma'abaros hayardin. I understand why you'd make a blessing when you see where the Yidden passed through the Jordan River. Right? So the Kohanim who were carrying the Ark of the Covenant of God, were standing in dry land inside the Jordan River. And then everybody passed through the Jordan River on dry land to get into Eretz Yisrael. Like, that's a pretty big miracle. I see in the Torah what that is. I get it. I understand why I make a bracha. What is this Ma'abaros Nachle Arnon? So this is a very interesting story about when the Yidden were in the desert, and the Amorim, the Amorites, wanted to destroy all of them. So here's a story that happened. Therefore, this is a pasuk, I don't know, somewhere in Sefer Devarim, I don't remember which parsha. Therefore, it will be said in the book of the wars of God, Es Vahev Besufa V'Gomer. It says, Es Vahev Besufa. What is this Vahev Besufa? So Tana, Es Vahev Besufa, Shnei Mesoraim Hayu, Davu Mahalchim Besof Machne Yisrael. So Vahev Besufa, Es Vahev was actually the name of two Mitzoras, two people who had saras, right? One of them's name was Es, the other one's name was Hev. So Es Vahev Bisufa, they were at the end of the camp because they were like basically thrown out of the camp. So while everybody was walking ahead, they had to stay behind a little bit. So Kiavu Chalfe Yisrael, and when the Yidden were passing through the valley, sort of the canyon of Arnon, which was between these two mountains, so also Amorai Avdelo Nikirusa Vitashu Bahon. So then the Amorites came and they made like caves in the side of the sort of walls of the canyon, and they hid in the caves. And Rashi actually on the Chumash explains that basically, so if you can imagine like a canyon, so these two kind of steep walls, and in between there's like a valley, and the Yidden were going to have to go down into the canyon in order to pass through these two like walls. So then the Amorites, they made these caves, and what happened was right opposite the caves, on the opposite side of the canyon, so it was like a puzzle, right? In the exact same place where the caves were in the mountains, the other mountains actually had protrusions. And okay, so then and the Amorites said that when the Yidden passed through over here, we're just going to like throw them because we'll throw down all sorts of fancy stuff like bows and arrows and stones, and we're just going to kill all of them. They thought that sounded like a really good idea. However, they didn't take into account that the Aron have a maske kamayu d'Yisrael v'hamam meimich lehu torei mikamayu. But they didn't take into account that the Aron, the Ark of the Covenant, would pass before the Yidden, and it would it would basically, any mountains and canyons and all sorts of stuff like that, it would basically just flatten them, right? So okay, and then when the Aron came, it basically stuck these two walls of the canyon, just stuck them together, and all the protrusions on the one side joined with the, basically went straight into the caves on the other side, and all the people who were hiding in those caves got crushed. And v'nachas damayu lenach le'arnon. Then when the canyon then opened up again, all of their blood kind of flowed down into the canyon of Arnon. And then but the Yidden didn't even know that this happened, because like they just kept on walking because it just seemed normal to them. They didn't even know that there was a canyon there in the first place, because the Aron just kind of like, did all this stuff before they got there. So then the Yidden just kind of kept on walking, and only these two fellows, Es and Have, because they were at the very end of the camp, they actually saw all this blood. Ki asu Es v'Hav chazu dama dekanafik mibene Toreh. Right? So Es and Vahev, who were all the way in the back, kind of, I guess, like turned around and noticed that, like, oh, hey, whoa, there was like actually a whole canyon down there that we didn't even know existed. And they saw all this blood flowing in there. So then also v'amru li Yisrael. So then they went and they told all the Yidden v'amru shira, and they sang a song. And it says that this sort of flowing of these streams, the streams of blood from between these two walls of the canyon, that were by like Moab. Okay. Avnei el Gabish. What are these Avnei el Gabish? Okay. My Avnei el Gabish. So what are these Avnei el Gabish? Tana, Avonim she'amdu al gav ish v'yardu al gav ish. Okay. It's these stones that stood just like in midair on account of one man, and then fell down on account of the other. Who are these two men? So amdu al gav ish ze Moshe. So they just kind of stood, what is it called? Suspended in midair, because of the Ish Moshe. Ish Moshe anav meod. It says that Moshe is described as an Ish when it says that the Ish Moshe is very humble. Uchsev, and the pasuk says vayachtulu akolos ve'abarad ve'amatuloni tach arza. And it also says by the barad that Moshe went and prayed that the barad the plague of hail should stop, and then that's exactly what happened. The hail literally stopped right in the middle of the sky. So yardu al gavish, and then they fell down on account of another ish. Which ish is this? Zeh Yoshua. T'chsiv kach l'chas Yoshua benun ish asher ruach bo. This is a reference to Yoshua, as it says, God says to Moshe, take for yourself Yoshua, an ish who has spirit in him. Uchsiv vayi benusam mipnei bnei Yisrael heim b'mored beis choron v'Hashem yish lichalem avanim gedolos. And it describes in Sefer Yoshua that the Givonim pleaded for help from Yoshua, that he should save them from the Amorim, from the Amorites, the same Amorites that tried to kill them in our previous story. So I guess their descendants were trying to kill the Givonim, and they asked Yoshua for help. And then what happened was, as these Amorites were fleeing, God basically rained down on them with these stones as they were fleeing from the mountain of Horon, and that is the stones that God threw down on account of a man being Yoshua. What is this stone that Og, the king of the Bashan, wanted to throw upon the Bnei Yisrael? Gemara Gemirila, we learn it out. Amar Machane Yisrael Kamahave. So Og made a cheshbon in his head. He said, well, how big is the encampment of Israel? It is 3 parsas. That's about 5 miles again. I think like 5-6 miles. So that, I don't know, let's say in diameter or something. So Ezevli Akar Tura Bar Tlasa Parse. So Og thought he had a creative solution. He would pick up a mountain that was 5 miles in diameter, V'ishdi alayu v'aktilinu. And he figured, then I'll just take this mountain, chuck it upon these Bnei Yisraels, and I'll just kill them, and that's it. no more Yidden. Wow, what would the world be like without us Yidden? Who knows? Didn't happen. Also, Akar Tura Bar Tlasa Parse. So he went and he uprooted a mountain that was 3 parses. Va'aisi al Reshe, and he was then carrying it on his head. I guess kind of like, you see people like in the East carrying stuff on their head. So he was carrying a mountain on his head. Yeah, I guess it was totally normal. Va'aisi kud shibrichu ale kamtse. But what the Eibishter did is that he put like ants on the mountain, vinakvua, and they put a hole in the mountain right where he was balancing it on his head, vinachas bitzavare. And basically, the mountain kind of like fell onto his shoulders, and his head was now inside the mountain, and he couldn't see. And he was like, help, help, I can't see. And Havabai lemishlefa, and he was trying to get this mountain off of his head. He was kind of stuck. So mashche shine, and then lahaigisa, and then somehow his teeth got like really long, and he was trying to use his teeth to like, I don't know, somehow pull the mountain off of his shoulders with his teeth, I guess. I don't know why he didn't just use his arms to like lift the mountain. After all, he did uproot it from the ground, but who knows? He just couldn't. Why use your arms when you have like miraculous teeth extensions? But he was unable to remove the mountain off of his head with his teeth. Alright? This is what the pasuk says. Where's this pasuk? It's in Tehillim. It says, Shine Rishayim Shibarta, you broke the teeth of the evil. And like the way that Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish explains the pasuk, Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Mai dichsiv Shine Rishayim Shibarta, Atikra Shibarta Ela Sherbavta. Do not read it that you broke the teeth of the Rishayim, rather you extended the teeth of the Rishayim. That is a reference to Og's teeth that got extended, and he was trying to use them to remove the mountain from his shoulders, but he couldn't. Okie dokie. Now, Moshe Kama, or maybe because like when the mountain, maybe because the ants ate out the mountain in such a way that like he couldn't just lift it off his shoulders. Maybe it like kind of went around his head and neck and stuff. He couldn't just push it off because it would also pull off his head, and he wanted to keep his head. So maybe he was trying to use his teeth to like, file around so that he can like make a space open up so that he could then pull off the mountain without pulling off his head. Maybe that's what happened, but he didn't succeed. Now, the Gemara says something that is famous to some people. So maybe you've heard this. Moshe Kamahava, Eser Amos. Moshe was 10 Amos tall. That's really tall. That's like 15 feet tall. That's like really, really tall. So now Shakil Narga bar Eser Amen, and he took an axe that was 10 Amos tall. Shavar Eser Amen. He then jumped 10 Amos. That's also a really big jump. Umachye bekarsule v'kadle, and he by using all of this height, his height, the height of his jump, the height of his axe, he was able to strike Og in his ankle and managed to kill him by doing that. Wow, what a story, huh? Well, there you go. If you ever see this mountain that Og tried to throw in the Bnei Israel, you will make a bracha. Moshe, and the stone that Moshe Rabbeinu sat on during the fight against Amalek, Tichsiv, Vide Moshe Kvedim, Moshe's hands were very heavy, they took a stone, they put it on beneath him, and he sat on it. Vishto Shalot, if you see the wife of Lot, that Lot's wife looked behind her while they were fleeing from Stone, and Stone was being destroyed, and she turned into a pillar of salt, because of course the angels told them not to look back, and she did. And the walls of Jericho that became swallowed in the earth, as it says, that the wall fell under it. Okay, we're going to ask about what that means in a minute. Okay, so I have no problem with all of these other miracles that we say. What do we say? We say like Hatov v'Ametiv or something, right? What does it say? It says, for all of these things you have to give thanks and praise to the Eibishter, right? So the Gemara says, I understand why all of these things we would want to give praise and thanks to the Eibishter. However, the only one I don't get is the wife of Lot. That's not like thanks and praise. That's like something bad that happened. That was like kind of negative. The Amar Baruch Daina Emes. So the Gemara says, yeah, you're not on that one. You're just going to say Baruch Daina Emes. Yeah, but it doesn't say Baruch Daina Emes. It says you're going to give praise and thanks. So Tini alod v'al isha mevarchim shtayim. So rather, what we're going to say is that for specifically when it comes to Lot and his wife, we are going to praise twice. Okay. Al ishta omer baruch tana emes. So for his wife who became a pillar of salt, you say baruch tana emes. V'al Lot, and for Lot who was saved from a storm, omer baruch zocher es hatzadikim. Blessed is God who remembers the righteous. The Amr Rabbi Yochanan afilu b'shas kaisu shal kadosh baruch hu zocher es hatzadikim. That Rabbi Yochanan says that even when the Eibishter is upset, is angry, he remembers the tzaddikim. Shneimar, as the pasuk says, by the destruction of Sodom, it was when God was destroying the cities of the plain. The Eibishter remembered Avram, and he basically saved Lot. Fine. What do you mean the walls of Jericho got swallowed into the earth? I thought that they fell down. The Apostle says that when the nation heard the sounds of the shofar, they shouted out, and the wall fell down. So the Gemara answers, so I'm not 100% sure how to understand this, but this is sort of how I do understand it. That the walls of Jericho were the same width as their height, okay? And therefore, I guess that means that they were super tall, right? Right? Generally, like a wall is wider than it is tall, but these were equally tall as they were wide. And therefore, I guess if they would fall down, you would still have a humongous pile of like rocks and stuff like that. And, falling down wouldn't necessarily be such a solution there because you still wouldn't be able to get over all these rocks. So therefore, they didn't fall down because that wouldn't have helped. They actually got swallowed up in the ground. Okay. Amar Rav Yudah Marav. So this is very interesting. It says reviewed in the name of Rav. Arba tzrichin lehodos. There are 4 people who need to give thanks, and this is the bracha of Birkas Hagomel, right? There are 4 situations for which you say the bracha of Hagomel in shul, right? Hagomel chayivim tovot shegmalani kotov. So Yordei Hayam, people who travel on the sea. Holchei Midbaros, people who travel in the desert. Umishaya cholev v'nisrape, somebody who was sick and was healed. Umishaya chavash b'beis hasurim v'yatza, somebody who was in jail and he was released from jail. Yordei Hayam, people who minalan. How do we know that people who travel on the sea need to say Birkas Hagomel? D'chsiv, as the pasuk says, Yordei Hayam. So basically, this is all of this stuff comes from one parak in Tehillim, one chapter in Tehillim, which is chapter Kuf Zayin, chapter 107. Basically, has all of these. Right, it's the pasuk of Yodul Hashem Chazav and Neflosov Livnei Adam. Right, give thanks to Hashem for His kindness and His wonders to the people. So all of these 4 situations are in that chapter of Tehillim. So it says in that Tehillim, Yordei Hayam ba'oniyos v'gomer, people who go down into the sea in boats. Heimaro ma'aseh Hashem, they have seen the actions of God. V'omer v'ya'amed ruach se'ara yalu shamayim yerdu tohomos, that God puts a storm on the sea and the boat is going all the way up to the heavens and down to the depths, right? Because those huge waves that it's going to the top and the bottom, it's throwing them around. V'omer yachogu v'yanu kashikor, and they can't even walk straight. They're like fumbling around like drunk people because the boat is going so crazy. And they call out to the Eibishter when they're having in their distress, and He saves them from this precarious situation. V'omer yakem sara l'dmama, that the Eibishter quiets down the storm. V'omer, and it says v'yismchu ki yishtoku, and they're going to be happy when the storm, when everything quiets down. V'omer, and it says Yodel Hashem Chazav v'neflosav v'nei Adam, that they will thank God for His kindness and His wonders to people. So there you go. So that's how you say Birkas Hagomel when you travel on the seas. Holchei Midbaros, those people who are traveling in the desert, minalan. Tichsiv Tov b'midbar b'shimon darach, if they lose their way in the desert that is full of desolation, Irmoshav lo matzo, and they don't know how to find the city that they're looking for, and they're basically stuck in the desert. That's kind of not so good. Vaytzakul Hashem, and they cry out to the Eibishter, v'adrichem v'derech yishara, and he sort of guides them, escorts them in a straight path. Yodel Hashem chazdo, and then it says again that they will give thanks to God for all of His kindness. Mishachalav v'nesrape, somebody who was sick and was healed. Tichsiv, as the pasuk says, evilim miderech pisham Right, people who were like sinning and stuff, and because of their sins, they got sick. They got yisanu, inui. I don't know. I forget. Afflicted. And they can't even eat. They have no appetite. They're sick. And they cry out to the Eibishter. And the Eibishter heals them. And then it says that they will give thanks to God for His chesed. How do we know that somebody who is in jail and gets released? Then he says, Berachos ki himru imre kel v'gomer. Right, those people are sitting in darkness and like in shackles because they didn't listen to God. V'omer vayichna ba'amal libam v'gomer vayachna ba'amal libam. And in this difficult situation, their hearts become sort of humbled. Right, and then God, oh my God, wow, all right, it's a very loud vacuum. Okay, anyways, and then it says, I should call out to God. Maybe I should say a gomel. No, it's not a joke. Anyways, so then they, but I did just say, oh my God. Anyways, then they call out to God. God releases them from jail, and they say Agoma. My Mevarich, what is this Berachos Agoma? Amar Rav Yehuda, said Rav Yehuda, Baruch Goma Chasad and Tovim. Blessed is God who does Chasad and Tovim. The Gra actually then amends it to a more similar text that we may recognize, which is L'chayavim Tovo Shigmalani Kol Tuv. Right? Abaye Amar V'tzarech L'oduye Kami Asara. Abaye says you have to say Berachos Agoma in front of a minion. D'chsev v'yomamu b'kal am v'gomer, that you will raise him up in a quorum. Mazutra Amar V'trein Minai Rabbanan. Mazutra says 2 of those 10 have to be rabbis. Shenemar of Moshav Zikenim Yalu, and in a sitting of elders you will praise him. Maskat Ravashi V'Makulu Rabbanan. Ravashi says maybe all 10 of them should be rabbis. So Miksiv B'kal Zikenim B'kal Amksiv. So the Gemara says no, that's not a good suggestion. It doesn't say that they that it has to be a quorum of elders, it just has to be a quorum of regular people. Ve'ema, but maybe Be'asara Shar Ama Utrein Rabbanan Kasha. And we say, but maybe what it means is you should have a minion of like just 10 regular people, and then you should have in addition like 2 rabbis. So the Gemara says, maybe, we don't know. Let's go on. Rav Yehuda Chalash Ve'atpach. Rav Yehuda was sick and he got healed. Allah Gabi Rav Chana Bagdata. So Rav Chana from Baghdad. I wonder if it's the same Baghdad as today. Could be. They were in Iraq. Very interesting. I wonder if it's like a super duper old city. Okay. V'Rabanan. So Rav Chanan from Baghdad came, and the rabbis came with him. Amrle, and they said to Rav Yehuda, Brich Rachmana Yavach Nialan V'lo Yavach LeAfra. Right, and he said, wow, and they said, blessed is God who has given you, Rav Yehuda, to us, and hasn't given you to the dust. Amarlu, he said, so Rav Yehuda said to them, Patartun Yasi Mila Oduye. And he said, that's it, now I don't have to say Agomel anymore, because you guys just, did it for me. Amar Abaye Ba'a Oduye Ba'Be'asar. But one second, didn't Abaye say that you have to do it in front of 10 people? So the Havu Be'asar. Yeah, there were 10 people there, right? Rav Chana Bagdata came with the rabbis. I guess he came with at least 9 other rabbis. Va'yu lo kamode. But we say, but doesn't Rav Yehuda need to make the bracha? He didn't make the bracha, they made the bracha. So no, it was okay because he said after them Amen. So therefore it was okay. Alright, Shkayach, that was cool. Yeah, I moved kind of quick just because it was a really big page, but I think that we did okay on time. Some really interesting stuff. Of course, it's exciting that we're on the final stretch of Masechta Berachos, which is cool. And that last part was pretty cool about Berachos HaGomel. We had a bunch of cool anecdotes about these interesting stories with Og and Nachal Arnon and Moshe being tall and all that kind of cool stuff. And Zeo, and I'm looking forward to going weiter with y'all. And have yourselves an awesome day, of course. Peace